Oh, that's a massive crash. And a big hit for rookie Oliver Bearman in the Haas.
Kimi Räikkönen on the inside, and he's crashed!
Speed and science collide in the high-stakes sport of Formula One, but the consequences of a mistake can be devastating. Every collision costs teams millions of dollars, from broken carbon fiber to damaged chassis. From the most recent crashes that rock 2025 to historic events that change finances, we're delving at the most costly crashes in contemporary Formula One history in this video. Hold on tight, because these collisions did more than simply damage cars. They caused financial ruin. Number 1. Yuki Tsunoda 2025 Imola GP practice crash. Yuki Tsunoda was responsible for the dramatic, chaotic, and expensive start to the 2025 Imola Grand Prix. Tsunoda was driving hard through the infamously difficult Variante Alta during a rain-soaked practice session that caught even the top drivers off surprise. There was nothing but bloodshed after that. A trail of carbon fiber and a very shocked garage personnel were left behind when his front wing was completely destroyed, the suspension was broken, and the underfloor was ripped apart. Damages estimated? An incredible $850,000 is a cruel blow to a team that is already balancing its finances this season. There was a collective gasp throughout the paddock as the incident raised a red flag. Did Tsunoda exert too much pressure, or was it simply the cost of courage in uncertain circumstances? In any case, this was more than simply a slip. It served as an expensive reminder of how quickly things can go wrong in Formula One. One thing is evident from the team's hasty rebuilding prior to qualifying. Tsunoda has just paid in full, and Imola never overlooks errors. Just a few weeks earlier, another young gun had an even more painful crash in Australia. Number 2. Oliver Bearman 2025 Australian GP FP1 crash. It wasn't a smooth start to Oliver Bearman's full-time Formula One career with Haas at the 2025 Australian Grand Prix.
It sounded like the car bottomed out, but he could have bailed out of it.
Bearman ended up making headlines for all the wrong reasons during what should have been a calm first free practice session to get his bearings. The young Brit touched the inside curb a bit too forcefully as he approached turn 10 only 25 minutes into FP1. The car abruptly lost control, sending him hurtling at tremendous speed into the railings. It was a vicious blow. Worst of all, the chassis cracked. The front wing was damaged and the front suspension was totally broken. The outcome? A complete front-end makeover and a repair cost that exceeded $1 million. It was a devastating blow for a midfield team like Haas, which is already operating on a limited budget. Mechanics raced to evaluate the damage, but no immediate solution was apparent. But experience doesn't always save you. Just ask Alex Albon in Brazil. Number 3. Alex Albon, 2024, Brazilian GP qualifying crash.
The rear of the car, under brake, is like he started to lock.
Chaos ensued during the 2024 Brazilian Grand Prix qualifying session as the skies opened over Interlagos. Alex Albon was literally and symbolically at the center of the storm in dangerously wet conditions. His Williams FW46 abruptly lost all of its grip as he thundered through turn 2. Albon was a passenger as the automobile plunged sideways into the wall with a violent, relentless impact, aquaplaning across the soaked tarmac. The aftermath was devastating. The entire left side of the automobile folded like paper. The suspension was left in splinters, and the front wing was ripped off. The damage estimate? An astounding €800,000. It was a severe operational and financial setback for a team like Williams that is still struggling to regain its competitiveness. Even though qualifying ended badly, Albon's fortitude and the team's unwavering spirit made the wreck into a tale of perseverance. Williams refused to back down, but Interlagos showed no mercy. And Brazil wasn't done dishing out punishment that weekend. Number 4. Logan Sargent 2024 Zandvoort crash.
And that's the results of what happened.
Logan Sargent's sprint race shunt sealed Williams' doom in what turned out to be a nightmare weekend at the 2024 Zandvoort Grand Prix, as if Alex Albon's qualifying crash wasn't enough. The team had just recovered from one expensive repair project when catastrophe struck once more. Sargent lost control halfway through the sprint, sliding rear first into the barriers after spinning wildly off of turn 6. The destruction was very devastating. The floor was torn apart, the back suspension was shattered, and the gearbox, one of the most costly and delicate parts, was irreparably damaged. After everything was said and done, Williams had lost about €1 million in the collision. The team's aspirations for the weekend were all but dashed after 2 significant accidents in 2 days. It was a devastating moment for Sargent during a season in which he has struggled with consistency. It was a financial and logistical headache for Williams. Team morale suffered even more, and the mechanics had to rebuild overnight. While those were brutal, George Russell's double whammy week wasn't far behind. Number 5. George Russell, 2024 Mexico GP FP3 crash. At the 2024 Mexico Grand Prix, Free Practice 3 was supposed to be a last-minute warm-up before qualifying, but for George Russell, it ended up being a costly lesson in limitations. The Mercedes driver lost the back end mid-corner as he forced the W15 to the limit through the narrow and winding stadium stretch. Carbon fiber flew, and mechanics scrambled as the car spun and crashed side-on into the merciless Tech Pro barriers. The harm was serious and quick. The floor was destroyed, the side pod was crushed, and other important aerodynamic elements were destroyed. It was a devastating financial and strategic blow to Mercedes, with repair costs skyrocketing above $900,000. At a course where setup accuracy is crucial, particularly at high altitude where downforce works differently, the incident was even worse because Russell lost crucial track time. But if you think that's bad, wait till you see what happened at Silverstone in 2021. Number 6, Max Verstappen, 2021, British GP crash with Hamilton. It was the match that ignited one of the fiercest rivalries in contemporary Formula One and lit up the 2021 season. Lap 1 at Copse Corner at Silverstone. Wheel to wheel at almost 300 kilometers per h, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are unwilling to lift. Hamilton made an upward lunge. Verstappen remained steadfast on the racetrack. Verstappen was sent flying off track and into the barriers with a bone-rattling 51G impact in the ensuing thunderous crash. It completely ruined the Red Bull RB16B gone, are the gearbox, the floor, and the suspension. The damage estimate? It was one of the most expensive crashes in Red Bull's history, costing an incredible £1.3 million. Fortunately, Verstappen was unharmed, but the incident immediately caused controversy and a media frenzy. Was Hamilton overly combative? Was Verstappen's squeeze excessive? The blame was a source of conflict among supporters, commentators, and even team principals. Red Bull was incensed over the collision, as well as the financial consequences and championship ramifications. An already fierce competition was fueled by the picture of Verstappen's wrecked car and Hamilton celebrating the victory hours later. This was more than simply an accident. It was a moment that would go down in Formula One history and a turning point in the title fight, but the most terrifying crash of the modern era wasn't about cost. It was about survival. Number 7. Romain Grosjean 2020 Bahrain GP Fireball crash. There are some spectacular crashes. Some are pricey. However, Romain Grosjean's 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix mishap was a completely other story. Harrowing, remarkable, and amazing. Grosjean's Haas swerved sharply off course after clipping Daniil Kvyat's AlphaTauri just seconds into the first lap. His car broke past the barrier, split in two, and burst into a fireball at a speed of more than 200 kilometers per h. The world held its breath as flames consumed the wreckage for 28 terrifying seconds. Then miraculously, Grosjean came out of the fire. His hands burned, his race suit scorched, but he was still alive. Formula One's once controversial safety component, the halo, had served its purpose. The remainder of the vehicle reduced to charred rubble. The electronics melted, the survival cell was severely weakened, and the chassis was completely destroyed. No one seemed to care that the financial harm easily topped $1 million. It had nothing to do with money. The motorsport community was rocked by the collision. It served as both a sobering reminder of the risks drivers confront and a potent illustration of Formula One's unwavering commitment to safety. One of the most famous incidents in sports history was Grosjean's escape. In addition to destroying a car, Bahrain 2020 altered public perceptions, strengthened safety regulations, and provided one of the most poignant moments in Formula One history. And finally, let's go a bit further back, for the mother of all pileups. Number 8, Charles Leclerc 2020, Italian GP Monza Parabolica crash.
That's Charles Leclerc! And that is a very big accident!
Monza, Ferrari's native land. The pressure was extremely intense and Charles Leclerc experienced a severe collapse. Leclerc was putting in a lot of effort in the struggling SF1000 during the 2020 Italian Grand Prix in an attempt to turn around a challenging season. But catastrophe occurred while he was at full speed approaching the fabled Parabolica turn. The back snapped, and in a matter of seconds he was a passenger, speeding at a terrible speed into the walls. It had a huge effect. Leclerc's Ferrari crashed into the wall head-on, shattering the suspension, damaging the chassis and rear wing, and tearing apart the nose. Immediately, a red flag was raised, and supporters worldwide held their breath. Charles was fortunately unharmed, but the SF1000 was a write-off. The harm? Parts and repairs totaling well over $700,000. A huge blow to a squad already reeling from a poor season. However, the real price was higher. The collision cost Ferrari vital championship points and dashed their aspirations of a comeback in home races. It was a heartbreaking moment at a circuit rich in Ferrari history. It was a race Leclerc would never forget. It was just one more bitter chapter in a season filled with red-hued annoyance for the Tifosi. But that wasn't Leclerc's only painful visit to the wall that season. Number 9. Charles Leclerc 2020 Styrian GP crash.
Ball with Charles Leclerc. Dives down the inside as Vettel gets squeezed.
Charles Leclerc had already caused Ferrari's repair team a great deal of trouble at the 2020 Styrian Grand Prix qualifying session in Austria, just a few weeks before the mayhem at Monza. Leclerc, who was trying to get as much performance out of the lackluster SF1000 as possible, lost control after going too far into a corner on a wet track. The damage was substantial, even though the crash wasn't as spectacular as his Monza catastrophe. The entire front end needed to be replaced, the suspension was ripped apart, and the front wing was completely destroyed. The bill for repairs? More than $500,000 to see an additional significant blow to Ferrari's already tight 2020 budget. Ferrari, S Saturday, became a complete catastrophe as teammate Sebastian Vettel was also involved in a collision during the same. It served as a harsh reminder of how easily things can go wrong in Formula One with 2 damaged cars, 0 clean laps, and a garage full of broken carbon fiber. And if you think those were bad, let's rewind to one of the most iconic crashes of the hybrid era. And finally, number 10, Sebastian Vettel 2017 Singapore GP start crash. Under the rain-soaked lights of Marina Bay, the 2017 Singapore Grand Prix got underway in a chaotic fashion. Unaware that Max Verstappen was pressed between him and Kimi Räikkönen, Sebastian Vettel, who had started from pole position, went left off the line to defend. The outcome? Before turn 2, a dramatic 3-car crash destroyed Verstappen and both Ferraris. The nose, suspension, and side pods of Vettel's SF70H were damaged, resulting in damage exceeding $750,000. The greater loss, though, was Ferrari's title momentum, which was destroyed in a matter of seconds. Vettel's hopes of winning the 2017 championship were dashed by the first ever quadruple DNF on lap 1 in Formula One history. Every disaster we've looked at, from rookie errors to championship-deciding collisions, had a devastating financial cost. Beyond the twisted metal and pyrotechnics, there is a sport that continually weighs risk and performance, and occasionally the price is simply too high. One thing is clear, as Formula One continues to change with tighter regulations and budget caps, even the smallest mistake can cost a lot in the fastest sport in the world. Which crash caught you off guard the most? Tell us in the comments below. And how many of you got to watch the latest F1 movie? What do you think about it? Let us know. And if you want more F1 drama, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and tune in right here on this channel. Thanks for watching.